Joining me now is my favourite author and commentator, Andrew Klavan. Andrew, thanks for coming on the program tonight. I want to talk to you about Donald Trump, who has been in the UK, or Scotland rather, where he met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The pair had a long discussion on a number of issues, including the situation in the Middle East and the war in Ukraine. Here's what President Trump had to say about the situation in Gaza.
We're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. So we're going to be even more involved. We did some airlifts before, some airdrops, and the people are running for it. And the Prime Minister is going to help us. They're very effective with that. You've done that before, and for many, they've done that for 100 years very well. So.
Andrew, obviously the whole world is talking about the situation in Gaza, and there's the not small matter of 50 hostages still under the tunnels in Gaza. What do you make of the President's comments there?
Well, of course, he's right that there's tremendous suffering going on. There always is suffering in a war zone. There's always more people, civilians hurt in war zones than soldiers, and that's what's happening now. What's appalling is that it really is the United Nations is apparently conspiring to keep aid that the Israelis would happily let in, and Hamas, of course, colluding with the UN to make sure there's as much suffering as possible. It's hard to believe. It's hard for civilized people to believe, but Hamas and their like use civilian suffering in order to turn the opinions of people against Israel as if they were the cause, instead of the fact that they haven't released these hostages. I think Trump is not fooled, but he's also quite right that the suffering is real, no matter who is doing it. And I think it will be a good thing if we can get it in there and if we can get it past the UN conspirators and Hamas to the people who actually need it.
The President also confirmed he would shorten the 50-day window that he offered to Vladimir Putin earlier this month for a ceasefire deal to be agreed or face sanctions and tariffs. The deadline is now 10 to 12 days. Seems to me like Trump has pretty much given up on any good faith negotiations with Putin, so he's just fast-forwarding to sanctions and tariffs now.
Yeah, he's sick and tired of Putin saying one thing on the phone and then bombing people in Kyiv. I think the thing is, American presidents have historically been fooled by Putin. We had Barack Obama sending Vlad the idea that he would be more flexible after his last election. We had George W. Bush saying he looked into Putin's soul or whatever he did and saw what a great guy he was. But Donald Trump has an excuse, which is that the Putin he's dealing with in this administration is a different person, essentially, than the Putin he was dealing with in the first administration. In his first administration, Putin and he had shared interests, economic interests, things that they could negotiate about, which is, Trump's strong suit and where he feels comfortable. And so he had a perfectly good relationship with Putin, despite the fact he is what he is. But now this is a man who has gone into a war and he is now knee deep in the big muddy, and he doesn't really know how to get out of it. And the thing about a dictator is if you don't get out of it, something like this, you tend to disappear. So Putin is really not just fighting for the Ukraine, he's fighting for his life, and he doesn't really have a lot of leeway to be flexible in negotiations. And I think that Trump has now figured that out and is now just going to do what he can to make them suffer. You have to remember that we don't trade with Russia, so whatever sanctions we put on are going to be put on indirectly, and I don't know how much of an effect it will have, but at least he's sending the signal that he gets it now and that he's not dealing with a man who's negotiating in good faith.
OK, so while all of that is going on, the President is still dealing with the small matter of Jeffrey Epstein. Trump's currently suing the Wall Street Journal for stories that he claims are fake, including that he sent a birthday card to Epstein with a drawing of a naked woman on it. Here's some of what Trump told reporters who keep hounding him on the Jeffrey Epstein issue.
I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Andrew, I'm really interested to get your take on the Epstein issue, particularly as it pertains to the relationship with Donald Trump. Is this something that journalists will just keep pushing continually, and it will pretty much be impossible for Trump to distance himself from it?
Yeah, this is an unusual, unforced error on Trump's part. It's not so much what he did, it was the way that he did it. This is something that both Kash Patel, the head of our Federal Bureau of Investigation, and his sidekick, Dan Bongino, who I think is a terrific guy and very trustworthy. This is something before they joined the FBI. They said there's secret files. We want these files released. We will make sure they're released. If Trump had simply let them come out before the cameras and explain how their position had changed, what they had actually seen, if he had let them just show the information that they had and show why they changed their mind, that probably would have ended the story. But instead, the information was leaked at the end of a holiday weekend to a kind of left-wing, center-left news organization, Axios, and it just felt like we were being kind of shoved off, that the people who had been promised more information were being kind of kicked out of the way. And he went even so far as to call them stupid for falling into the Democrat game.